Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Starladder Season 12. We're in the thick of it in the lower bracket finals. IG has forced a deciding Game 3 versus Cloud9. Guys, that was a very intense match. IG at one point trailed by about, I think it was 20,000 gold or so. They were being sieged. It must have been 10 minutes where Cloud9 just kept on trying to push through the top lane. Eventually, they did claim racks. Shortly after that, there was a really big Roshan fight. 3 Cloud9 heroes died. IG takes the Roshan, and it actually felt like that one fight, the game completely turned on its head, and Cloud9 just never really were able to get any momentum back.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty accurate.
the thing about this game that's really interesting is that I think all three of us favored IG's draft in this game. We thought they had they were going to go toward a really strong mid game. I think their picks were good for the lanes. They had the right initiation. They had the fighting power. Cloud9 seemed to be on a clock, but they won the early game actually really hard.
Cloud9, I felt like
they,
Cloud9 just flat out outplayed IG for the first 25 minutes of the game.
And then you said it best. You said, okay, if IG can be this far behind and just win one fight and then feel like they're in the driver's seat, then it's like, okay, then this probably goes to show that their draft was really good. Because, I mean, it's one thing that Cloud9 lose a fight and they lose a Roshan. They were 20k gold ahead. They lost the fight that gave like 5k away, I think. And then the Rosh is like 6k. You're still like 14,000 gold ahead, but it didn't feel like they could fight at that point in time. So there were like two things Cloud9 needed to win this game. They needed to, first of all, they had to win the early game, which they did. If they lose the early game, this game's just flat out over. Like, they had no way of winning the game if they don't do that. So they won the early game very handily, so that was really good from them. And then they needed to avoid the game going too late. And I was suggesting, we were talking a little bit about itemization on the TA. Was Skadi the right choice? It's a little bit of an unorthodox build, but it's a great item in its own right these days. But I feel like they might have needed some sort of extra vehicle to bring down these towers, whether it be Sniper getting more damage, maybe TA getting a Deso, because
even an Assault Cuirass could have been an okay choice.
Cuirass could have been nice. Maybe a BKB on Fata, just so he has like 10 seconds where he can hit the tower. Like they could start, they were slow sieging anyway, so he can like use BKB charges to deal damage on buildings. They do it a couple times, maybe they get some sort of momentum from it. It was a really difficult situation, but if you looked at IG's draft, they actually had nothing against BKBs. Like, what were they going to do when they BKB up on the Radiant?
It's weird because Fata is normally one of the most impressive players on Cloud9. When he's on like Zeus or Beastmaster, you put him on a TA and his impact is just noticeably lower.
You brought up while we were watching the game, Gods, maybe Shadow Fiend would have been a better choice for them. I think it was entirely ignored that draft. Do you think it would have made the difference?
It just feels like when they don't get his first go-to hero, I think it's fine they prioritize Beastmaster and Zeus for Fata over some of the more conventional mids like Queen of Pain, Storm, Shadow Fiend, which like a team like IG goes for. But once your Beastmaster and Zeus is banned or taken, I feel like Shadow Fiend's a better option than a TA.
And he actually plays it really well. That's the weird thing. He actually has a really good Shadow Fiend, so I'm surprised they haven't pulled it out. It was like they didn't use Shadow Fiend in the beginning or not in the beginning, but when other teams started picking it a lot and it became really popular, Cloud9 didn't really pick it so much. We were like, when we were casting some of the games, like, okay, what are they going to get for Fata? Oh wow, they pull out a Shadow Fiend for Fata, and then it turns out he's like super good at it. We're really like, okay, why wouldn't you get that more often?
It goes better late game. I think it's better for sieging in general as well, just with the like mech BKB Skadi build in the front lines. In some ways, I feel he's maybe more reliable than a TA.
And it's a lot scarier to fight into a Shadow Fiend. If he can get off the Requiem, you're losing out on a lot of your damage output on the dire side. Looking at this match, guys, I think the standout player, even though IG going to win, Bone7 just had another amazing performance in the offlane. IG win this game, but that Phoenix does so much work. I almost feel like even though IG won, they still should be banning the Phoenix.
I mean, we talked about how the IG's drafts keep looking stronger, and we're almost a bit surprised by how well these early mid games are going. Every time the early mid game seems to be getting won by Phoenix as a pick.
Yeah.
Again, this game.
He's diving the tower. He's killing supports. He had like a 25-minute Hex, and I forget what the other item was. BKB as well.
He went for Hex as a second. He had a really early Hex as well, and then went for the BKB next.
Well, with that said, we are going to be getting ready for a Game 3 here. Going into this deciding game, it's an elimination match. Loser will finish third. Still a respectable showing, but both of these teams want their crack at Vici in the grand finals. Anything that really stands out to you guys across the two games is like key points for either team or stuff that could decide the series moving forward?
Phoenix was number 1 for me. Number 2, Cloud9 are super good at the early game. Like, I think their next draft, it's very important. Sometimes it's tempting if you're like in the third and deciding game. This is what it all comes down to. You start playing a little bit more passively. You start drafting perhaps more for the late game. It's a very natural approach to take. I think that would be a big mistake. I think their strength right now against IG is that their early game seems to win every single time. So keep playing your aggression. I think in this last game, the draft didn't go as well as it could have. So with a few modifications to that, they could have probably just won this game with the lead they got. So.
And the sniper did have a pretty big impact. It's interesting. We've had 3 sniper losses in a row, but it still feels like a strong hero. And more, both of these times, the supporting cast around it maybe not quite as impressive as it could be.
It looks like Cloud9 are going to be on the dire side for Game 3, so maybe that means they're going to be the ones having first pick, possibly looking to secure the Zeus as a first pick for Fata, because I don't think IG want to be banning both Zeus and Beastmaster. I could be wrong there, but...
Then if they do, then Cloud9, very possible they take the Wisp. That's been their go-to first 2 bans, Beastmaster, Wisp.
Or Batrider.
That's true.
Or Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
I don't know if they need a first pick Phoenix. I mean, maybe IG will do what they did with the Zeus, where it's like, well, it's not normally a first pick for us, but let's deny it from Cloud9 if they can. So if you first pick Zeus, then IG's like, well, we don't want you to second pick Phoenix. We'll take that as one of our opening heroes.
And Zeus just showing
that looks awfully wrong.
That is,
those stats.
That is
not
just from post.
Yeah.
That's from the post remake, I'm guessing.
And that was after Zeus had Refresher. It was much later in the game.
Refresher ag Zeus, he's going to do a lot of he's going to do a lot of hero damage.
Still insane. He dealt twice the damage of a Ferrari Ember with double Battle Fury, Daedalus, and Raid Fury.
That said, this does show how strong Zeus is right now, though. That was an off-lane Zeus who did not have a good early game, and still, he has that damage in the second half of the game.
Yeah, the Zeus from Lure wasn't incredibly impressive, I feel, that game. Like, it was still a solid hero to have, and I think it just high ground defense with the AoE nuke damage from an AA Ice Blast combined with the Zeus was pretty crucial to IG holding on and not losing out the lane of racks, and also allowed them to siege because everyone just kept getting chipped away at from the back lines. But I think overall you could tell Lure was not at his most comfortable on Zeus.
Yeah, it wasn't really again, in general, it was not the crispest performance by IG here. A lot of missed Ice Blast. Granted, they didn't really have much setup to ensure that it hits that game. Luo Zeus dying quite a bit early on, but still, it just shows the strength of the draft, that they are that hard to break the base against. They have excellent late game, and it just felt like IG had a lot of margin for error because of the way they picked.
And you try to imagine that game minute 30 if it's an even game in gold. Like, I don't know how Cloud9
if it's an even game, it's like a massively IG favored game, it feels like. How about the Phantom Lancer? How big do you think the PL was this game? Was that a real game changer, or was he more just you could plug in another carry and you'd have a similar impact?
I think it was pretty damn important. I mean, you talked about possible last picks. The only other one that I still think Morphling would have been a really good last pick. It did get banned out though, so I think that could have filled a slightly similar role. Maybe not quite as good against Sniper. But
he was really good at removing refraction in the mid game too. Like, it's one of the things PL is great at, hunting down supports, and if nothing else, putting the enemy team on a clock and drawing attention to himself in fights. It's difficult to play fights against a PL once the enemy team gets a little bit ahead. Like, you
start to run, and then you just start getting picked off one by one. Especially against that draft. It wasn't just the PL. You got the Zeus, the AA. You just can't escape from that.
He delayed that top push. They did eventually lose racks, but he just kept sending in illusion after illusion and made the push take a lot longer for C9, and that really limited. I mean, I feel like if they got that racks nice and quickly, then they go for another lane, but it just didn't happen.
I do want to say I didn't like his itemization in that game. I think out of all the itemizations in the game, we talked a little bit about Fata. Maybe the Scotty was not the right choice. He obviously had his reasons, and it did make sense, but perhaps a different approach could have won them the game. It's difficult to say, but I feel like double heart PL for me is a thing of the past. I think the second heart should definitely be a Scotty, or
maybe even a Manta instead of the heart.
Manta is like the most quintessential item on PL for me. It gives you those illusions. Like, the problem with PL nowadays is that you don't have, like, all the illusions you spawn with your spells, whether it be Spirit Lance or Doppelganger, very short duration. Manta illusions last long. It allows you to split push way better, put way more pressure on the map. In fights, you could maybe get out of kinetic field before the Disruptor got his Aghanim Scepter, and it felt very weird for me that he skipped it. I like the Abyssal, though.
It just gives you that extra insurance policy as well. So you have you can escape with your Phantom Rush, then you also have the Manta to work with as well, and it feels like it's just nice to have those two ways to get out of a fight.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. I think the first heart's okay, but the second should be a Manta or,
That
Scotty,
said, though, Burning had some really nice individual plays that game. He purged off Hex twice on teammates, once Luo, once on 430, and those were game-changing defensive hexes. It's something that I think Puppy was the first pro player, at least that I saw do it a year ago or more as a support, but Bernie doing it in core role. It made a big difference.
Yeah. He was using that Hex almost entirely defensively. It felt like, until they went on the offense. But yeah, initially he came up with some really clutch plays.
It's actually funny how good of a defensive item Diffusal is, but you'd see players. It's just I think it's a mental thing that players that get Diffusal, they're so used to using it aggressively, and either aggressively or for like you're used to the pub situations where you're like, I'm playing Ricky with a Diffusal, I get dusted, you purge yourself, right? The defensive plays with Diffusal, I want to say 9 out of 10 times are on yourself, but in a game like that, you're right, and they could have actually lost if they didn't get those 2 hexes purged off. So really,
that is the thing. That's how well Cloud9 played in that game, and if they can just put together maybe a little bit more of a stable draft and they play at that level, they could easily take the series. Well, with that said, guys, I know you're all anxious to get into Game 3. We are loading in right now. Seems we're, as usual, waiting on a couple spectators, but all the players are in, which is good news. So we're going to start soon.
I feel like this is a 50-50.
I'm slightly leading Cloud9 even. Ever so slightly. They've dominated the early to mid game 2 games in a row. I wonder if IG are going to ban. I feel like it's so hard to justify a first stage Phoenix ban, but it's just a pick that allows Cloud9 to, again, probably dominate the early to mid game. If you're banning out Phoenix, you're giving away a Beastmaster or something. And at that point, Cloud9 are really comfortable going mid to late game with a Beastmaster on their side.
I feel like the way we see games played, Beastmaster seems more counterable than the Phoenix in the early game. Because, first of all, Cloud9 played in one position, right? It's always Fata playing the Beastmaster mid. So you get information when the enemy team gets that pick. When they pick the Phoenix, who knows? Maybe it's offlane, maybe it's support. You try to counterpick one of the positions, they just put in the other. The first game, they put it on support because the Phoenix was counterpicked in lane by Silencer. Second game, not a bad lane, you put it offlane for Bone 7. I feel like it gives Cloud9 more options. We're going to see, though, if IG do want to ban it, or will give it away again here. They have banned the Beastmaster, so still consider that the most important hero, and they banned the Zeus as well. Okay. Yeah. Double Fata focus. That's an IO available.
Wisp is here.
I think
Phoenix is here.
They just realized how big a problem
Troll
these 2
and
Fata
Sniper
heroes
are also there. Four pick heroes right now available for Cloud9. Seems like the Wisp or the Sniper is the most likely first overall pick.
I think the Phoenix, even.
Really?
If they're worried about IG taking it especially.
How often do IG run Phoenix?
Not very often, but they also don't run Zeus very often.
That's true.
They were all about taking that away from Cloud9 in Game 2. It just doesn't reveal anything. You can then get information from IG's picks and then counter appropriately, which is where the Phoenix also fits nicely as a first pick. But
it is interesting to see just how much IG are giving Fata those respect bans, though.
Yeah, I think you could still easily justify a first pick Sniper, though, if that's the way you want to go. But
it will be the Phoenix. Good call. What do IG want here?
Sniper. They want Sniper.
Or do they want to go for like the comfort zone Ferrari Shadow Fiend? If they pick the Sniper, I feel they don't get the Shadow Fiend, which, I mean, they lost with Sniper against Phoenix. I wonder how much that's going to get in their head. And they say, look, Sniper's a good pick. Coming into this tournament, yes, we would have picked Sniper here, but maybe with how the series and how this tournament's gone, you pick the Shadow Fiend.
I think they're going to grab the Lion as their second pick. That's going to be my guess. But which one they get first?
If it,
it's difficult.
So
to
do you?
Shadow Fiend, Earthshaker is the other option. I think Earthshaker or Lion are both very good. If they get the Earthshaker, we need to see a kind of aggressive support to go with her. At least a support with good presence.
How about the Chen? That's something that they occasionally pick together with Shadow Fiend. It's a Chuan classic.
I don't think
it's a nice night pick, but so is Lion.
Yeah, I don't think you want Chen in the first 2 per se.
IG taking their time here, and they will go Lion.
It's a good hero here. I don't think Cloud9 will use extra time here. I think they're going to grab the Sniper for me. They might have second thoughts because they did lose the last game with this exact combination, Phoenix and Sniper, but I still think Sniper has a really good matchup against Shadow Fiend. It's actually super annoying playing SF against it. A hero that's very... Yes, you've got the races as your primary damage source early on, but come mid-game, Shadow Fiend wants to be a little bit mobile and get in and get some attacks off. Sniper always outranges him, never really gets threatened by the Shadow Fiend.
Whereas the Sniper has pretty big kill potential once you get the level 6 with the 3 shrapnel charges. IG are taking their...
The other option is the Batrider. Well, I don't think if they get Batrider, it already puts Phoenix into the support role and maybe reveals a bit too much, or... No, they're going back.
All right.
Team Fire.
Well, IG will at least have some opportunity to try and react to this Batrider pick.
It's actually Team Fire versus Team Hell right now.
Team Evil. Are you saying IG's the bad guys?
Now, you guys were mentioning picking up a clear counter to the Batrider. Is this where IG want to be eyeing off something like a Vengeful Spirit or some kind of a actual counter to initiate?
Disruptor. We used to see Nyx a lot. He's been banned a couple of times this tournament, though. Seems more to protect squishy high damage heroes like Zeus.
The other hero so far ignored has been the Wisp, which Cloud9 did not pick up in their opening 2.
Also can be a potential counter to the Lasso, something Pylai Dai was doing a lot of back when he was on Cloud9. Not really an IG hero, though.
I don't think Cloud9 want the Wisp with Phoenix as their support duo, though.
Yeah, so that would have to be... I mean, can they run the Fada Batrider and the Phoenix in the offlane? They want to mix it up?
May just see Wisp get ignored this game, but...
If they want to go a little bit unorthodox here, which the only reason I'm considering this is because it's IG, they still have Kunkka available. Not the best roaming partner with Lion. He's better together with Shadow Demon. We saw them running it together. But actually, when it comes to countering out the Phoenix, there were some really nice places by Faith in that game. X marks the spot is a great counter to Icarus Dive. Kind of the same logic as Last Word, where you cast the dive, but you know you're ultimately still going to go back where you started. Ghost Ship is a decent counter to Batrider until the Force Staff. So it's like a little timing window where Batrider can blink Lasso. You just instantly ship when he pulls someone
without
in.
a setup, though. I mean, Lion to me is not really a good set for Kunkka. They only picked it with the Shadow Demon.
That's why I'm saying it's unorthodox. It might be something they're considering, but I do not think it's the pick. But if all their other options get removed, we see the Venge removed now, it might be what they end up with.
I think they just want to go super vanilla and get like a Jug Axe.
Yeah.
Jug Axe. Like, get Luo's Axe. You need an Initiate at this point with Ferrari on Shadow Feed. Get like a Jug for Burning, which has been probably one of his most played heroes. Yeah. Look, IG are going to go for what's worked leading up to this tournament. And I think it's going to be the Axe 4th pick. It just seems IG playing it super safe with this draft.
Surprisingly, they banned Lycan.
The Sleeve Sniper's still out there, but at the same time, Lion Jug are pretty decent against Sniper if you're just able to close the gap.
Especially since Lycan is not the most dominant laning hero. Like, that's almost a hero, like, if you were planning on picking an Axe, you're happy to have Axe against Lycan.
All right, as for Cloud9, other big Envy heroes, the Phantom Lancer, the Naga, they're out there. They don't have the Zeus, which really ties the Naga strat together nicely, though.
5 seconds remaining.
And there's that Sniper possibility, but if they want it...
You get Magnus plus an Envy carry, like a Magnus PA here, because Magnus is probably Fata's best hero or like most played hero left still in the pool.
Along with Puck, I guess.
Yeah.
Not really seen much play in this version.
TA has a really good matchup against SF, though, so it's
mean,
still a possibility.
It feels like they're just losing games with TA every time they go for it.
How about Morphling for Cloud9?
Did they ever play that?
Envy used to play it a lot.
Yeah.
Not so much. He hasn't played in a while.
Oh,
though.
yeah, he did, but I haven't seen it for weeks, I think, from that team.
Yeah, probably longer than that, even. A couple of months at least.
It does always come to mind when they take the AA or deny it from IG.
So it's like a classic trio,
100%
the Bat AA Morphling.
It's one of Misery's good heroes, and getting that away from Faith now might force him into... So what options do we have for Faith, actually? The Venge is out. There's the Silencer that he played earlier without much success that is available. The
Chen is still possible.
Kunkka I mentioned.
Really Chen
could be pulled out, and they can play Faith on Lion.
I still
Lean
like
is
the
a
Axe.
possibility if they want like some more burst damage coming out. But
I still really like the Axe here for IG. They don't have that great initiator. They definitely still need it. Clockwork's also in the pool if you want to go a bit different.
Axe gets run over in lane by AA.
Can walk off to the jungle. It's IG who take the Morphling. Feels like it may be a bit of a block pick as well, but it's going to be a different style of Morphling. I think this should be the offlane Morphling.
Yep.
unless they want to do like a Vici gaming style offlane Jug, but I think I've seen Luo play the offlane Morphling before, and
so that means Cloud9 probably going to ban the Skywrath, I would say, is the last hero here. They don't really have...
Oh yeah, Skywrath is there too, that's true.
The Lion is the only real great follow-up for the...
Shadowfiend's solid as well, I think.
That's true. He's decent.
You know who's also good with Morphling Stun? Kunkka.
Yeah. There you go.
That's actually a really good setup, to be honest.
It's a good counter. It's like if back goes in with the Blink Lasso, just throw the boat out and then get the Coco's Rum and all that.
All right.
Yeah, there's your factor here.
Time for IG to ban a melee carry.
The Jug. I wasn't right about the Axe, but
you've called almost everything
the
right,
Magnus.
actually. You called the first pick Phoenix, you called the Shadow Fiend.
The
We said
Bat
Lion
Rider.
or Shaker, so you get half a point for that. You called Bat Rider, you called Mag.
the Jug.
You called Jug.
There you go.
That's really good.
Didn't call
maybe
the
I'm
like him,
justifying myself here as
He actually
an
speaks
analyst.
Chinese, and he's got a direct line to IG right now.
yeah.
You get the draft bingo.
Stop, Sind. You're blowing up his ego.
Yeah, it's
He's going to
Oh,
be
shucks.
insufferable when we go back.
So, I mean, PA is the obvious pick to go with the Magnus. Do you think PA's good here? I mean, Omni Slash kind of bypasses the evasion and all that, but you're like, who are you empowering is always the big question.
Yeah, PL is the ban here.
10 seconds remaining.
I always like the problem here for PA is until she gets BKB, she actually can't fight at all. Like you can't initiate into a Lion Hex, you can't initiate into a Morphling with the stun. The burst spell damage on IG is actually overwhelming until you have that magic immunity. So I would think if Cloud9 do it, they put themselves in a little bit more of a passive position as far as the early game goes. But I go for that. All right, that's one hero we didn't consider at all actually. More classic pick for Vici Gaming than for IG, but
Oh man, this.
I feel like we see it too little in general. Sand King is such a good hero, I think.
If he gets space early, I feel like this IG mid game just looks so hard to deal with. You've got Lion, Sand King, Morphling, all great initiators. A lot of follow-up damage from the Jug Shadow Fiend, but they do need a lot of levels on this team. It's a pretty resource-hungry bunch.
10 seconds.
I'm thinking
remaining.
Spectre. That's my call. See if I can.
5
Mask of Madness
seconds
Spectre.
I don't know about Mask of Madness, but I don't think it's like a great empower target, but I think it just fits this like global ganking. Nope.
Close.
Terrorblade. There we go.
Still an impressive series of calls.
This is a really hit or miss Terrorblade game. He's either going to get free farm and own, or he's just going to get completely shut down. Like, I'm talking like 0-7 or something like that. They pick Terrorblade into Lion, Sand King, Shadow Fiend. Whew.
All right, guys.
That's some confidence.
This is our deciding game 3. Who is going to be facing Vici Gaming in the grand finals, and who's finishing third? Floor
I
is
think
yours.
IG have the more standard safe draft, but I feel Cloud9 every game they're dominating the early to mid game. They've got Phoenix again. Despite IG being safe and having an easier to execute draft, I think Cloud9 are going to take it.
This time it's an AA support though instead of Disruptor. I think they have less catch until Bat Rider comes online. So if Bat Rider with Bone 7 gets shut down a little bit here, it's going to take Cloud9 longer. Like their early game is actually fairly weak until Bat Rider gets blink in terms of finding kills. So
Or the Magnus blink, but
yeah,
again, that's not really
either
really
way,
fast
we're looking
thing.
at 10 minutes plus before Cloud9's lineup really comes online. So maybe IG get the levels they need on Sand King. I'm going to favor IG again. I think I favored them all 3 games from the draft, but Cloud9 keep impressing, so I'm not as confident as I would have been going into the series, but IG.
The last time I saw Cloud9 play Magnus and Bat for Bone 7 and Fada, they had both had blinks around the 10-minute mark, so I don't know. I feel like they're playing their A game, and I think they're going to get their blinks early and take the series. So with that, we'll see what our casters have to say. Zyori and Purge, take it away.
All right, our final match of this best-of-3 series. It all comes down to this Purge, a lot on the line. What are you thinking about these drafts? The first Terrorblade of the tournament.
Yeah, I'm a little scared for C9 here. I feel like I really like the banning path that IG took rather than maybe going for the ban the best hero in every category. They're like, we're going to ban all of Fada's mid-heroes until he picks a mid-hero. And then when he had a mid-hero, they're like, all right, and then we're just going to ban all the best carries. They just target banned EE and Fada there, and I feel like the scary thing about carries right now is that the best ones are Jug, Troll, and Sniper. And if you don't have one of those, we saw a couple games where they'd have a non-typical carry against one of those guys, and it was just a really uphill battle. So I'm really worried for Terrorblade. And to make things worse, he's against a Lion who can one-shot his illusions using Mana Drain or Hex. So going even in the late game, they're going to have an option to stop the sieging. Plus, they have tons of AoE. They've got Sand King, they've got Lion Impale, they've got Shadow Fiend. Morphling's going to have a really long duration stun, which is going to hurt his Sunder. It's just...
And then plus the burst damage from the finger to make Sunder a lot more difficult to utilize.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
they
a good
have
point as well.
a lot of tools to really put pressure on this Terrorblade.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about Terrorblade in general right now? Not even just in the context of this game. Is he underpowered, overpowered? He doesn't seem to be getting a lot of love in the competitive scene right now.
Luckily, I played him a week or 2 ago for the first time in forever, so I feel like he's still decent. I played him against the Juggernaut, and the Juggernaut that I played against had a lot more farm than me, so Omni Slash was still a really big issue. Even with a Manta style and spawning Conjure Image, it can still get really scary, because if Jug does have a gold advantage, he's still going to cleave through you and have a good shot at killing you before you get the Sunder off. So it's tough as a Terrorblade, but you can still farm extremely fast with a Quelling Blade. You send your illusions in the lane the last hit, you go to jungle, then you're pretty safe.
Right.
As long as IG is not being too aggressive, then you'll be safe. But I expect IG to be aggressive. If he doesn't get a lot of advantage on Terrorblade, I think this is going to be a really tough game. So it's looking scary. Their team fight in the mid game is good, and he does also have Empower. That's another thing to remember. But once he goes into range for him, Empower doesn't cleave, so it gets a little worse. So a couple pings by E. He thinks the ward is in this position. They should be able to deward it. Do they have Sentry money? And yes, Sentries are flying out. E predicted this spot, so he knows at the maximum limit. He's making this casting so easy for me. He's like, I think at maximum the ward is in this area. So they should probably place a Sentry somewhere in a box like this and most likely find the Observer ward.
All right, and the off-lane Morphling, something else we haven't really seen too much this tournament, though it's been the talk of the town over the past month or so with those big adaptive strikes, how long that stun can be, and it's pretty potent. A little surprised we haven't seen more of it this tournament, actually.
Yeah, I would call it obnoxious more than anything else. It's good, but it's also very obnoxious. They're going to be going for the bot rune here. It basically stuns for up to 4.25 seconds on a 10-second cooldown, so a lot of cores are just going to have trouble with it.
Huge uptime there. Icarus dive in, not quite going to be there. 430 will get the bottom bounty, and top will go to Fata. So an even exchange there in terms of the initial runes. Chuan will help block the mid lane, and Misery will do the same here on the Dire side. Nothing too surprising about this lane setup, though. Everything about as you would expect.
This is a boots game, man. We have 5 out of 10 boots
for
this Dota game. Isn't that amazing? That has got to be the highest percentage I've ever
Interesting
seen.
to see Burning go boots first here.
It's good on Jug.
I think I said yesterday, he does it occasionally. It's sort of 50-50. Not in every game kind of a deal, but when they think there's a chance where maybe a first blood can come out, they'll definitely go for it.
I think the reason they did it is because they have a slightly weaker second support on Sand King against a Bat Rider. So by grabbing boots, it allows them to potentially get a kill on Bat by just using Lion and Jug. It gives a lot more threat than you normally get, because if a Bat Rider has a little bit of free space here, he can just get a lot of advantage. Oh, look at what Morphling did. This is so smart. He bought boots first, didn't buy any tangos, and he waveformed into the trees. They ping actually. They think they know where he is.
They know he's got to be in this general area. I mean, there's only so many spots you can hide.
This is how they find him.
To still get XP.
Every 5 seconds, you're one piece closer. And they can look at his levels to say he's level 2. Okay, he's definitely getting experience. Go find him. He doesn't have, or he does have waveform mana now. I was going to say they could catch him without mana and kill him maybe.
Yeah. Things going okay for Luo so far. Let's check in on to Bone 7 in the off lane for the Dire. Still only level 1, trying to leech some XP, but not really having an easy time either. And then in the mid lane, Magnus versus Shadow Fiend seems to be fairly even so far. Both Ferrari and Fata getting some decent CS.
So Faith fulfilling a pull here, and like you said, Bat Rider's still not 2 yet. I thought Big Daddy was going to shift over and take a look for the Morphling, but they haven't found him yet, and this is really good for him. Another quelling is used. They still have not found him. He knows exactly where they are, and he's ready to waveform and TP. Well, he doesn't have the mana for TP, actually. It's a little scary. But
yeah, and this is one of the great things about the offlane Morphling is that you don't really need items. Once you get your Soul Ring, your Tranquils, you just need level 7, and then you have all the mana you need for your adaptive strikes. Bottom bounty will get picked up by Faith as Bone 7 tries to snag it for himself.
He's going to get spotted. There it is. They see him.
Yeah, Icarus dive across. Luo, how does he handle this? He'll just try to TP home. Will he make it? It'll be a bit close, but he survives. Heads up play. Good reaction.
That was a lot of damage, but he TP'd a little bit too early. He actually looked a little AFK, didn't he? Like,
he
dive
did.
came through, he's like, I'm not here, don't look at me.
I'm sure he was tabbed out checking Facebook.
Yeah, he's almost level 3. That was actually a little bit not as amazing as I thought it was. I thought he was going to get level 3, level 4, but almost hitting 3. Not bad, though, considering he didn't have to use any regen for that. All he lost was a TP scroll. That's a really good trade for him. On the other side, the supports have been able to do exactly whatever they want, and with as much secretiveness.
He's still finding a better offlane experience than Bone 7, who's still only level 1 and now roaming about in some different locations rather than trying to leech in the bottom lane. Respecting the boots first on Burning, especially with Lion off the map, could be anywhere. So
it's kind of cool how he used his ward here. He didn't place it in the offlane to protect himself. Instead, he's like, you know what? I'm going to position it where it's going to help out the game. And he's going to put it behind that. He's going for the courier. Can they upgrade fast enough? It's going to be close. He's going to need 3 hits, though. There's the upgrade.
Oh, wow. Very close call there. I thought he was going to get it. Would have been a huge pick to stop the bottle from 430. A noble effort.
Yeah.
And the aggressive ward could still come in handy later on and maybe help them find a kill in the mid lane. Luo rotating through the jungle, heads back to the river. Big Daddy knocks off the clarity and pushes him back.
Yeah, Bat Rider's not exactly a good career sniper because he only does 40 damage on average. He's one of the worst base damage heroes in the game, and a regular courier has like, what, 75 or something like that?
I think he can still two-shot the regular courier.
It was close. Definitely close.
But once it gets upgraded, yeah, there's no way.
So the gank begins. A little bit of smoke. I kind of like how they're integrating Morphling into this a bit. He's actually a really good ganker at level 1. 100 damage for waveform plus an attack.
Fata, level 5, will get Hex to have things started. Faith should be able to follow up with a stun. There's Luo. Fata will not live. It's 430 that draws the first blood. Shadow Fiend, a prize target to get that bonus gold and, of course, max out your Necromastery.
So the gank happens. No Tail's going to grab some experience on the mid lane, but a bad start for Fata here. He still has a lot of last hits, though, 18. Very good for considering he's against a ranged hero. Fata notoriously just amazing at getting last hits in even heroes that are melee. He does a great job farming the mid lane.
Both Burning and Envy getting good farm in the safe lane. Very comparable CS. Phase Boots the first item of choice on the Jug. And what's Envy working on here? Just Brown Boots, Ring of Basilius, pulling up his gold for now. What do you think in terms of item builds here for the Terrorblade? What's ideal in this kind of a game?
Usually you go agility stuff. There's a chance to go for a Radiance build, but I don't expect to see that at all. It's most likely to be Manta and things like that. Manta style, Scotty, maybe a BKB. That's very, very standard. Maybe even a Sanjin Yasha is usually what you'll grab.
How about drums on Terrorblade?
It's something you can get. It's an early game advantage, gives you a little bit more mana. The hero actually does use a lot of mana over the scope of the game, but you can kind of counteract that with just getting a bottle. I feel like it's better just to go Manta with bottle than to stop for the drums. But the movement speed can be useful.
And surely he'll upgrade that Aquila for a little bit of extra mana regen.
Likely, yeah.
So fairly quiet early game aside from that first blood. Chuan went boots first, still pretty quiet on the Sand King. Has a couple of stacks that he can work on here in the jungle to begin that quest towards the Blink Dagger, but hasn't been able to do too much yet. Just maintaining lane control for Burning, and he is just in free farm heaven here. Bone 7's had to retreat to the jungle, and he's actually doing okay for himself also. Batrider, level 4, and making a lot of progress towards a Blink.
We're probably going to see Chuan just stomp the next 7 minutes or so, because he just had level 3. He's got this triple stack on the large camp, and as well Faith, since he's been spending a lot of time mid, look at the stack over on the other large camp. I don't know if he'll take it over Shadow Fiend. In a lot of cases, you'll let that go to the mid hero, but I feel like if Chuan gets an insanely fast Blink Dagger, which this would produce, it could do a lot in the early game. So I think we'll have to see who it goes to. It's either going to go to Ferrari or the Sand Kingdom.
Yep. Only time will tell. IG looking to be a little more aggressive here. Ferrari actually with double runes right now. A haste as well as a double damage. This is scary at 6 minutes in the hands of a Shadow Fiend who's already level 7. Haste rune gets popped, rotates in, finds Envy, starts lobbing in the auto attacks. Luo and Faith come around the other side. Raise on 2. It's an easy set of kills for IG. 2-0.
What do you do against DDSF with a haste? Like
you cry. That's
about
like, all you can do there.
We have to hide, and they did tango a tree, but it didn't quite give them the juking path that they needed, and I don't even think it was going to matter. Like getting behind that tower, how do you succeed past that? I mean, on the bright side, they ganked heroes instead of killing Bone 7's camps, because he very much was that threat to losing those, but he's getting spotted now by the Observer Ward, and they might very likely shift over here and stop him. We'll see.
Faith will at least try and leech a little bit of XP, maybe snipe a few last hits. There's your Earth Spike to get some of that gold and take it out of the hands of Bone 7. Looks like he'll still get most of it at least.
He stole very little, other than the experience, which is significant, but if Bone 7 waits 20 seconds, he'll grab the medium camps as well, and then he'll be in a decent spot.
Yeah. But now the scales have been tipped a little bit. Burning starting to pull ahead at that of Eternal Envy, of course. That death slowing him down. Burning still just completely uncontested on the Juggernaut. Now Aquila to go with his phase boots. He's in free farm heaven. I'm sure that Mask of Madness will be right around the corner. Faith getting decent XP also. Level 5 online already. Finger of Death.
That's from those neutrals, definitely. He got at least half a level from that, I'm sure. Tranquil Boots finished. He's in a great place. Like, if you're at level 5 at 8 minutes on a support, you're pretty happy, especially with all the movement he's done and all the stacking he's done. He sacrificed a lot in the early game, and he's been able to clean up with those 2 assists and those stack steals. So it looks like the jungle camp did go away, and I assume that was Chuan taking that because Shadow Fiend was busy top. He's level 6 now, 3 in Sandstorm, 3 in Burrow. He's got 1,700 gold, and with this kill of this double stack large camp and the other double stack large camp, I think this guy's going to have a Blink Dagger, and then we're going to see a gank somewhere immediately afterwards. Yeah,
Bone 7 will probably win the race for the Blink Dagger, but they'll come out at pretty comparable timings. See if Bone 7 can perhaps find a good lasso initiation. He gets level 6 off this set of neutrals, so now lasso is available. Luo up top, getting harassed by Eternal Envy. Will waveform back. That Soul Ring on the way, but still not quite there. Also closing in on level 7. So this is right around the time when your off-lane Morphling will start moving around and look to set up kills in other lanes with that adaptive strike.
And an interesting skill build on Morphling. He actually grabs 2 levels in his passive. I've always felt like if you're playing the stunning build, you want to max your stun as early as possible, and you also want to get waveform to have some kind of damage, because when you morph so heavily into strength, you have very little damage. But if you get a second level of morph here, it doubles the speed at which you can morph, which is a pretty cost-effective point in a lot of ways. So I've never looked at that ability, that scaling before, and it's actually decent here.
Yeah.
So cool, valid reasons for him doing that.
Curious when he'll grab that ultimate sooner rather than later. Maybe just gets it at level
Much
8.
later. I mean, you can maybe take a jug illusion, that would be good, but there's not a whole lot of illusions that are strong in this game to steal from somebody.
Yeah, some of it is just the scouting potential, though.
Yeah. They look for the Bat Rider. Hopefully it's an easy kill there. They do grab a level from one creep dying, but that's going to guarantee the blink on Bone 7. If they got there a little bit earlier, that could have been a Bone 7 kill, could have delayed his blink dagger.
So many blink daggers coming out here, Purge.
Basically.
1 on the Radiant, 2 on the Dire. Fata will secure his. He rushes a blink instead of
good.
Arcane Boots.
Like Synderen pointed out, their early game is really weak. So if the Bat would have died there and delayed his blink, it would have been completely up to the Magnus to work out. But luckily, they both have blinks now, and they can move around the map trying to get kills. And they need to do this, because if they don't get some kills soon, the game is going to go out of control. Like, if they don't counter the Sand King initiation that's likely to come, like, the game is just really tough. Phoenix isn't even 6 yet here. He's just trying to sap experience.
Yeah.
His first fight's big.
Line's still not quite level 6, but with the Tranquil Boots, as you mentioned, he's still feeling pretty good. Shadow Fiend goes mech first, and we'll find it completed at the 10-minute mark. Not the Yule Scepter, but a sign that IG can get more aggressive here, and I think they'll do this 4+1 that they love so much. More space for Burning and try and take fights on other sides of the map. Speaking of Burning, he gets that Tier 1 tower kill in the bottom lane, and the smoke from IG will be revealed as Big Daddy throws out a Fire Spirit. First gank attempt with this Blink Dagger on the Sand King will be thwarted.
That's really important, super important. They didn't even have to fight for it, so no chance of them losing that. AI Blast is going to be up soon. They attempted for a mid, but they missed it. Almost a grab on Faith, but he hexes. Firefly to the high ground.
Great reaction from Faith there.
So both teams' initiation didn't really work out, but if we look at the gold graph, it's a huge gold advantage for the Radiant.
A lot of this is really coming from Burning. He's been completely uncontested, gets a free tower, and Envy's now moved into the jungle. Still not really at that point where he can really farm super quickly. Burning perhaps looking to have a go down bottom with that Omni Slash, but Big Daddy will Icarus dive away.
Yeah, Big Daddy has to be really careful here because he doesn't even have 6 yet. If he gets Omni, normally he can become invulnerable to that. He's even missing mana, so
we'll see the first rotation from Burning now as he just heads to the top lane. Mask of Madness online. He's ready to start pushing towers and find kills if possible. Misery in a good spot here, hiding in the tree line. Will they find him? Burning. Yep, they see him. Faith hits him with a stun, adaptive to follow up. It's an easy pick off, and I guess that position not so good after all.
Yeah, it's a good spot for hiding, but unfortunately it gives slight vision in this line here, so I'm sure that Burning spotted him, and then the rest of the heroes noticed that he was there, so that was
now
a pretty easy kill.
This will be a free tower kill, probably the second one for Burning.
Yeah, that's so dangerous
He misses it, actually, but still, tower down.
Less space for them to farm.
Oh, smoke mid, broken by Luo. Connects with a stun onto Big Daddy. He'll wave for
they
away.
grab SF.
But caught with the lasso is the follow-up damage there. Icarus dive across. There is a supernova available. Big Daddy will use it. Mech comes out from Ferrari. Looks like he'll be able to survive the backside of the fight. Chuan coming in. Ice Blast flying through. Faith. He does have a finger available, but holding it for now. Now Chuan in a bit of trouble. Burning, joining the party. Omni Slash finds the first kill. Bat Rider for Sand King, but Chuan, he'll buy back straight away. Ancient Apparition now in the grave. Big Daddy, no Icarus dive. He's feeling the breath of Burning Sword, and it doesn't feel good. That'll be the end of him. Now Fata and Envy, the only two left alive. They'll hug their Tier 1 tower. They'll live, but a disastrous fight for Cloud9, even with the buyback from Chuan. Still a gold gain for IG.
7-2 at the moment. He's trying to hold the tower back, but it's pretty scary, especially with Morphling still alive here. He's stunning for 4.25 seconds. RP comes through, Skira back.
On 2 behind the tower, but Luo hits him with a stun. Burning, just Blade Furies away. Luo will be okay for now. They'll try to turn this onto Fata. He's getting low, but they can't quite finish him off. Ice Blast comes in, connects only on Chuan. They find him in the tree line. He's isolated, hit by the shockwave. Firefly enough to finish him off as Bone 7 gets credit for that one. C9 get a small consolation for the hyper-aggression of IG there. Nice RP from Fata.
Yeah, that was good. It delayed the fight a little bit there. They didn't get a kill out of it, but the important part was that little dire creep that blocked Chuan, and he couldn't get out. The Ice Blast hit him. They saw he was there, and from there, Bat Rider jumping on top of him. Easy kill. A very good consolation kill that C9 has been looking for. And they defend the tower, cost them an RP and their other ultimates, but considering them being behind, I think that was all right.
Yeah, and in this game, Bone 7 had a decent initiation onto the Shadow Fiend, but unfortunately the follow-up damage just wasn't there. They don't have that huge burst, a finger or something like that to bring down the lasso target easily. They had the Supernova follow-up, but the mech was just enough to keep Ferrari safe, as they will continue to pressure these Tier 1s. Tier 1 in the mid for Cloud9 will fall. Looks like they won't be able to move in time to make a defense.
So that tower will likely fall. Oh, maybe not. Oh, that's a Shadow Blade on Jug.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, he's so farmed.
To go with his Mask of Madness. Item you don't see too often, but when you're this far ahead, can really bode well. Fata
Good ice
gets
blast.
hexed as he heads to the top lane, and he will get locked down on the other side of it. Bat Rider falls. It's a 2-0. And 2 separate fights. Now Burning gets another tower kill. IG getting so much momentum here, Purge. Look at this gold graph. Already a 5K net worth and XP deficit in favor of Invictus Gaming.
They have so much good chase. Like, Bat Rider needs a Force Staff to be survivable here, but
Radiant's top tower
there's just
is
too
under
much damage
attack.
coming out. He can't get away. If he gets stunned, he stops pulling somebody. And Morphling isn't even the hero that you want to go on because his HP is so high because he's morphed so much over there. And it gets even worse if he continues to press the morph strength button. He can still get an extra 20 strength out of it. So a fast Roshan will be finished. Very unlikely. We will see an AI splash. That'll help if it hits Ferrari. It doesn't, though.
Bottom tower is under attack.
And that's dead Roshan and another big advantage. I feel like Misery really hasn't been able to do as much on this hero. I mean, it did block IG from picking their heroes, but because their heroes were so delayed in terms of roaming viability, it's like he's not able to accomplish a whole lot. They don't have that many nukes either. AI Splash, you want to combo with nukes in most cases, but their team is weak on nukes and weak on early disables.
Yeah,
they'll
so
go well into late game, but it's tough.
Checking in on Eternal Envy, he's been rather quiet this game. Now has the Empower buff to help farm a little bit more. Picked up the Yasha to go with the Power Treads, but still taking a little while to come online. And IG are just capitalizing so much on Terrorblide's relatively weak early stage here. Mid lane, Burrow Strike right onto Fata. That's a Requiem of Souls for a double kill onto Big Daddy and Magnus. Oh boy, it just keeps getting worse for Cloud9 here. Burning, finds Misery, Shadow Blade with an Omni Slash to follow up, make it 3.
That's just demoralizing right there. 3 dead heroes are having a lot of trouble finding kills on the map, and man, kills like that just make it scarier and scarier. Especially, man, Ferrari on SF is so terrifying. It's because this guy doesn't die very often, and now he's got offensive with a Blink Dagger as well. So really good chance that he can cooperate in team fights, score kills for his team, and just push their advantage even farther. It's just looking really bad for C9.
Yeah,
I think this is looking bad, more worse than the previous game versus IG did.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this lead this early on, it's reached 5 figures, Purge. 10,000 net worth, 12,000 experience, and only 16 minutes of gameplay. It's not quite insurmountable, but fairly close. Aegis of the Immortal on Shadow Fiend will be lasting for a pretty long time here, so IG can continue to keep up this aggression and deny Cloud9 places to farm. We'll see IG start to invade the jungle and really limiting where Eternal Envy can find time to kill creeps.
Spot some illusions here. Illusions versus illusions. They know one of these is real.
But which one?
C9 does have a lot of smokes ready to use. They just have to find the opportunities. Got to be careful with this Observer Ward, though. Put a sentry down, but AoE, I don't see any pings. I don't think they
I think
spotted.
that was out of range. It was just in the darkness there.
Midas on Morphling. He could actually just transition into a carry at some point, too, with this.
Dire's top tower
And now
is
Faith
under
gets his
attack.
Blink Dagger on the line. 17 minutes, pretty solid timing there. Plenty of farm to go around for IG. Even more initiation power now with a Blink Hex. It's a trio of Blink Daggers, and the Shadow Blade on Burning, kind of half of a Blink Dagger in that sense.
All right, so C9 was trying to find somebody, but they didn't catch anybody there. Bit unfortunate for them. They really need kills. Any kill they get at this point gives them a huge gold advantage, especially if they catch the heroes that have the higher net worth on IG, especially Juggernaut or Shadow Fiend. Any of those guys would give them a huge boost in gold. But unfortunately, couldn't find anything.
Dire's middle tower
Big
is
Daddy
under
throws some Fire Spirits out onto Ferrari to try and delay this push in the mid lane, but the creep wave already cleared up. They've got a siege creep with them. IG will just continue to put the pressure on. They've got Faith in the bottom lane, but he'll join the party mid, and this will turn into a 5-hero push.
And Luo opting for pretty much a max strength build. He's not even going for the efficient, I want some agility, some strength. He just wants as much HP as possible here.
Dire's structures
Ice
are
Blast flying through, will connect on 2. Luo and 430. Glyph comes out to try and defend the tier 2. Some illusions coming in, but this baby's going down. In the bottom lane, Bone 7 is cutting the lane. They might try to trade their tier 2 mid for a tier 1 bottom, but it could very quickly turn into 2 tier 2s for just this tier 1 in the bottom lane, which I think, needless to say, is far from ideal.
Yeah, it's not a trade that you want to make at all. Flutter's trying to pick up some farm as well to catch up, but they don't feel comfortable going under tower because you
They're
could
not
have a
even-
TP with a Blink Strike from Sand King, and then you're caught, and then you have to take a bad fight.
So what's
Mantis
the play
Style's
for
on
IG?
Achilles.
Do they come back to defend?
They could grab a kill, but there's nobody around, so I guess they probably should just defend. You know what? I think what they should do is follow this blue line on the map, walk around that path, and maybe set up a kill. I think that sounds like a good idea.
Sounds like a pretty good plan, Purge. Only one outer tower remaining for Cloud9 already. Only 19 minutes into this game. They've killed but a single Tier 1 tower themselves. Fata now goes Power Treads on his Magnus after the Blink Dagger, opting to skip the Arcane Boots. Oh, Envy farming in the danger zone right now. Gets caught by Faith. The Blink Dagger's there. Stun, follow up from Chuan. Do they have the damage? They do. It's a Finger of Death and a dead Eternal Envy.
We almost saw Magnus get killed as well, but opted for the illusion instead, and Burning doesn't get the kill there. But grabbing Eternal Envy, I mean, he's 1 and 2 right now. He's got decent last hits, but Zenithworth is okay considering the scope of the game.
Considering how this game is going, it's pretty solid, but there are still a lot of issues here for Cloud9, and they are not slowing down this IG momentum whatsoever. Aegis just about to expire, but I feel like 430 has gotten a lot of use out of it.
They're going to find Fata, I think. Will we see the Hex Burrow Strike first? Here
Oh,
comes
the
ultimate.
Requiem. That's a one-hit KO for the most part. Fata heads straight to the grave.
That's one of the really cool things about the draft that IG did here is that any stun and Ferrari can get his ultimate off because they're all very long duration. You've got Hex 2.5 seconds, Earth Spike 2.5. The Burrow Strike is very similar, 2.17 seconds. So he just has faith in his teammates. He sees the heroes like they're going to land a stun. He blinks and ultimates right away. He doesn't have to get Yules. He can just go blink alone and then transition straight to damage items if he so wishes. I think this is actually a good game to just skip Yules entirely. So
very aggressive wards come down. Blink forward from Bone 7. They want Burning. They'll catch him in the lasso. They might be able to bring him down here. Plenty of damage, but the Omni Slash goes off. The RNG is there to finish off the Bat Rider before he falls. Buys some time for his teammates to join the party as well. Big Daddy without the Supernova will secure a kill on the Lion, but now Chuan with an Epicenter focuses Eternal Envy. He dies. A 2-for-2 trade. Not too bad for Cloud9 if they can get away without losing any more. And they'll find a pretty big net worth gain out of that. Compliments of the rubber band.
the threat of the Sunder was there, but unfortunately for him, the stun came through with the Epicenter and just a bit too much damage for I could kite him as well. So things are tough here. He has finally grabbed a level of Reflection. It's a decent skill against Jug because it does the illusion can crit back on him. So in the late game, it might be worth getting some points into here, but man, it's a tough game. He's got to get a Scotty next, I think. He's got to get HP. He's got to get some agility items. But it's looking scary, man.
The one outer tower remaining for Cloud9. G2A soon to be turned to rubble. They don't have a glyph. Ice Blast will connect on 2. Icarus Dive and Fire Spirits, but the Adaptive is there onto Big Daddy. Luo just going to walk forward and bully him out a little bit.
He really doesn't care that much.
Yeah, looks like they will actually not
HP.
commit to the tower. Okay.
Morphling can kind of do whatever he wants here, whenever his ultimate's up at least.
Full Manta style coming out for 430. And a Blink Dagger for Luo.
Yeah, very standard on the Morphling build because if you're full strength, it pushes people very far. So a lot of the times you stun somebody, it pushes them closer to their team. So it's a little better to blink behind them, push them towards your team, and then waveform through him. So it's pretty much a safe initiation. Your damage is still irrelevant. I mean, he hits for 33 right now because he's so strength morphed. But the important part is that with good teammates, if you're setting up stuns for 4.25 seconds, it should create a lot of space and have a lot of viability while still being hard to kill. So
Cloud9 will get some vision control back. Clear out the plateau in their jungle with that Sentry Ward. Nicely done. Opens up some space in their jungle. Just trying to find somewhere for Envy to farm. Looks like we'll have a short pause here.
Probably a tech issue going on with C9.
I think most likely. Still a huge lead for IG, hovering around 13,000 net worth, 15,000 XP.
Looks like he had an issue with his headset here, and he is ready to go.
Okay.
Hopping back into the game. Hopefully with that small 10-second break, they have the same energy that IG got from the restart in the previous series. Fingers crossed. They're going to need it because they're really far behind. Wow, look at Ancient Apparition. Bought a gem.
Oh.
It's a fair buy. I mean, they're so far behind, they need to get map vision. If they get map control, they can land the RP, they can get the Bat Rider lasso. That might have been spotted.
Oh, it's really close. I think it might have been clear. We don't see pings coming out from IG.
I don't even think they saw the Observer Ward up there because Misery ran on the right side of the lane. So
Chuan on the high ground, breaks the smoke. Burrow Strike down to the other side. Good positioning there, and he sees the ward come down.
Can they grab Morphling is the question. That's such a hard kill. They don't have the burst damage. They would have to RP for it, and that's just not worth it this early on.
There is a Force Staff up on the Bat Rider, though, so Bone 7 can now start to isolate whoever he grabs in the lasso. A much-needed bout of item progression. Chuan has also picked up a gem of his own, so one on each side. The battle for map vision continues.
Except Lion has a Hex, an Earth Spike, and a Blink Dagger. AA is much more squishy here. I mean, if they lose this gem, it's, I feel, the beginning of the end, because there's no way they can regain map control unless they buy sentries, but that's, in a losing game, that's oftentimes not very worth it.
Yeah. IG walk into the Roche pit, and they see that he's respawned, but instead they just head straight to the lane. They don't want to take any undue risk here. Instead, they'd rather clear out this tower and make things a lot more difficult for Cloud9 in terms of contesting. Burning, caught by the lasso, pulled deep into enemy territory, but the follow-up is there. Supernova comes out as the Requiem gets channeled. Batrider goes down first. Now Envy stunned up, fingered, and sent to the grave. It's a 2-for-0 straight away. The Supernova goes off, but the damage is just not there. Big Daddy tries to Icarus dive away, but Chuan follows up with a stun. It's a 1-for-3. Lion got picked off in the fray. Dastardly fight for Cloud9 as they lose their last outer tower.
Luo played that fight so well. As soon as the thing started, he blinked to the back line, and he made sure the Magnus could not blink and counter-initiate. If there would have been a RP, that could have been significantly different, but he just stopped that from happening. Jumps in, throws the stun, starts attacking Magnus. That 30 damage completely
Some buybacks are available here, Purge. Glyph has already come out. Are they going to be forced to burn them? You can't sacrifice barracks this early on. Phoenix will use his. Envy hanging on to his for now. Tier 3 tower does go down. Now IG just trying to make the retreat. Bone 7 caught by an adaptive. Do they have the follow-up damage? No.
Took a hit from 30.
Still took the Tier 3 tower, though. Great push from IG. And they also forced out a buyback on the Phoenix without conceding a death, so that is just some lost gold for the bottom line of Big Daddy No Tail.
It's so tough to play this with the Morphling being there. He's like unkillable in a lot of ways. He can stun one of your heroes for 4.25 seconds. C9 needs a good teamfight, and they have the heroes for it, but if he keeps disrupting teamfights like that, it just looks so hard. They didn't lose their gem at least. Misery was able to stay alive in that fight, but did Eternal Ebony go down? He's 1-4-3 now.
He died and did not use his buyback. Faith has just been focusing him so hard. It seems like every fight the Lion is looking for the stuns on the Terrorblade, and once he's in the threshold, that Finger of Death, I think it's been used on Envy almost every fight.
It should be. It's so good against him. He's only got 1,000 HP here on Agility Treads.
Oh, Envy, he is in the danger zone right now. Can they find him? Luo walking by. Chuan opens up with the stun. Adaptive is there. Envy locked in place. He'll die once more. That makes him 1-5. Really a rough game for this Terrorblade.
No kidding. I mean, what do you do at this point? Juggernaut has 60% more net worth than you, but more importantly, he just wrecks you in a 1v1. I feel like even with Terrorblade, if he was able to Metamorphosis and Manta Split and have 2 Conjure images up, I think Jug would still kill him in most cases. It's just so much physical damage. Plus he has a crit. Jug's damage in comparison is just massive.
And now Jug has a Skull Basher, probably looking towards that Abyssal Blade before too long. More control to just lock down that Terrorblade, prevent him from sundering or anything else. Roche goes down once more. That's an Aegis of the Immortal for 430 again. And he's got about 3,000 gold pulled up to look towards his next item, quite possibly a Scotty.
So last Observer Ward is going to fall, at least by the bot half. C9's looking to turtle. They're grabbing BKBs on their core heroes, but they're a bit too far away from them. Even Magnus going for a Yules. I think it's a good option. You can stop things like Epicenter, SF ulti, without needing a Blink Dagger. And they're preparing to go high ground. They want to take a Rex.
They know there isn't a Glyph available here, so this is a good time for IG to push with the Aegis advantage, plus knowing that the Phoenix buyback is on cooldown.
They've got their ultimates at least, so they can get something out of this.
Ferrari walks up to the high ground, Illusion Rune in the bottle. We'll focus the ranged barracks for now, looking for the sure damage. IG playing this very cautiously, putting their Aegis carrier in the front lines. They don't want to overcommit here. Trying to bait with Ferrari and see if they'll waste one of their prized ultimates on him. I think IG happy to not fight here if it means they can secure uncontested barracks, and they will. Now do they back out or go mid? Seems to be the latter here, Purge. They want to end this game.
They're going to keep going, definitely. There's no point to back off. Nothing got used, and they have a huge gold advantage. I don't think they're not like, oh, we got a small advantage. Let's keep pushing this. They have a huge advantage.
25K net worth and experience to be exact.
They're going to try to take the game here. If the second Rax falls, that's at the very least a long, painful death for C9, so they have to fight here. And it's all going to be down to RP. They don't have the trees to hide them this time, though. And everybody's still spread out.
Trying to split. Lasso onto Luo. Is the follow-up damage there? He's the tankiest target. They can't quite bring him down. Waveform away. He'll survive for now on the other side of the fight. Chuan, or pardon me, Faith brings down the Phoenix. They kill the Morphling. He'll buy back. They've already taken the Tier 3 tower, though. Still not too bad for IG. They know Phoenix can't buy back here, and he did have the Supernova.
Did he get chain stunned? Oh, with Finger of Death. Okay.
He did. He got fingered, yeah.
Dire's middle
So now the barracks are
under
exposed.
attack.
Still no glyph available.
Melee's low.
Morphling had that tier 1 tower to TP to, so he's already back in this fight. Envy buys a BKB. They need to make a stand here. Melee Barracks taking a lot of damage. Fata still has the RP, but IG just split up so well. Fata stunned as soon as he blinks in. Gets follow-up stun, bursted from full to 0 before he can cast a single spell. Now Envy with the BKB on will get off a Sunder, but does it matter? I say nay. He's stuck in the well, and this could be the end for Cloud9 G2A here. Buyback comes out from Fata, but they blow up Bone 7, and it's GG. IG head to the finals to face off against VG Gaming.
What a comeback there. They were on the verge of defeat in Game 2, but they eked out the advantage, took Game 2, and just stomped Game 3. I really felt like their drafting there just focused on all the important heroes. First, they banned out Fata's ideal heroes with both the Zeus and the Beastmaster, forced him into picking a Magnus because he was worried about turning it into last game with a hero that he's not as comfortable with. And then they also got rid of all of the really good heroes that Eternal Envy may have wanted to play, forced him into a Terrorblade, and a couple early rotations on that hero is like, what do you do against it? He wasn't able to kill the Morphling. He couldn't get hero advantage. All he could do is hit creeps, and he did that, but too many stuns, too many good teamfight abilities, and IG knocks them out. 3rd place for C9.
Yeah, not a bad finish for Cloud9, but certainly not what they were hoping for. I can't help but feel like the Terrorblade was just not the pick that game. We talked about it in the draft. Our panel talked about it. Just so much control, so much burst damage, and it seemed like the offlane Morphling was really quite the pick this game. 0, 1, and 9, but he set up a lot of kills.
And it wasn't just that. I feel like they also didn't really want to do AA. I think they maybe picked too many heroes that they wanted to prevent IG from having rather than just playing heroes they were good at. I feel like Misery always does a lot better on heroes like Lion. He plays amazing on those.
Right.
They still got Phoenix, but that was pretty much the only hero in the draft that they really play often is Phoenix and Batrider. Those are the 2 heroes they got. Everything else was like 2nd or 3rd tier picks that they normally grab. I feel like they had too many heroes that were out of their comfort zones.
Yeah, I also really liked the slight variation from Burning there. He went for that Shadow Blade very early on, an item you don't see on Jug too often, but when you're ahead that early on, it just lets you snowball so much faster, and there was just no way that Cloud9 could really handle it. So we will have an interview with the winner, and it looks like they're just about ready. I'm not sure which player it's going to be, and they're still working it out on the stage. So looking forward to IG Vici in all Chinese finals.
Yeah, it's not too surprising. A lot of people predicted that coming into the tournament, but it would have been fun to see Cloud9 in there, but unfortunately they just couldn't make it through that best of 3. So just so many good heroes picked by IG there. Sand King, Lion, Juggernaut, like those 3 are very, very strong right now. Shadow Fiend's fantastic. They feel like they got 4 of the... I mean, Sand King is obviously not top here in the meta right now, but I agree with Sind. He has a lot of potential. Stuns are great. AoE damage, team fight, all good things that people like right now.
And he can just make great use out of the jungle. I mean, both teams farmed very efficiently, utilizing pretty much everything they had around the map. We saw the trio of Blink Daggers come out at pretty much the ideal timing for the Magnus, the Batrider, and the Sand King. But unfortunately for Cloud9, just didn't make a big enough difference. They didn't have the follow-up damage to blow people up with the lassos. We saw Bone 7 get some great initiations, but the damage just wasn't there.
Yeah, and they always had blinks to stop him from moving, and he always has to worry about the Morphling stun as well. If you're a Batrider and you're like, I'm going to run somebody away for 3 seconds, and he just stuns you for 4, like you're countered.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a good solution.
All right, looks like our interview is ready, and it will be with Chuan. So let's go down to the main stage and see what he has to say.
Right, I'm here with IG, Chuan, and the team manager is going to help me translate. So the team looked a bit shaky in the first game, losing it to Cloud9, but you most definitely came back in the 2nd and 3rd game. Was it because you finally got in your zone and started playing better?
我们第一局表现的有点弱势，然后第2局、第3局我们找回了自己。那么这个原因是什么？是不是你找回了自己，还是怎么样？
原因是我们不太了解他们，就是我们没有跟他们打过，就是大半年没有跟他们打过，所以不知道他们打什么。然后打过第1场之后，我们就开始懂他们打的套路，然后就用这个来针对，就这样。
Okay. The reason the first game we are weak is because we haven't played with Cloud9 for a really long time, and we are not familiar with them. And after the first game, we came back and we found our strategies, so we won 2 games later.
Well, some of our analysts said that Chuan was a little bit too reckless, going in too deep in the first games and dying a lot. He most definitely came back and played more confidently later on. Was it because of the stress of being in the lower bracket final?
the first game played bad is because our draft is not very good, and we didn't play too well during the game. Okay.
Well, now you're going to face VG, who knocked you down into the lower bracket yesterday. Are we going to see something new? Are we going to see some changes made specifically for this matchup?
We'll just be ourselves, just wait and see. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations on taking the series. Thank you for the interview. Guys, come on. They knocked down the team favorite, but they're still up in the grand final of the Star Series Season 12 finals. Let's give it up. We're going to cut to a small commercial break, after which our analyst is going to take it away. Thank you. Don't go anywhere.
esportsbets.com, the service where gamers will bet real money on virtual events. Only here, the best odds and widest coverage of games from Dota 2 to Hearthstone. We have over 200,000 users registered. Join us. Prove that you are the best versed in esports. Who will get the first blood? Who will take the first Roshan? Who will win the knife round? Participate in the race of predictors and earn real money. The more bids, the more bonuses. Reward for your first deposit up to $600. esportsbets.com. Foresight, passion, and calculation.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Starladder Season 12. The LAN finals are almost over. Only two teams remain. Cloud9, the last hope for Western Dota, they were just eliminated here. 2-1, tough loss against Invictus Gaming.
Make it sound like it's the end, the last hope Western Dota is done for.
Well, at this tournament it is.
Yeah.
So
it just sounded like we had to
rip.
Hold a memorial service or something here.
Well, I think for a lot of the Western viewers, it's a bit disappointing, but honestly, IG are playing some great Dota right now, and it should be a really exciting grand finals.
Yeah, looking forward to IG in this series. Definitely, I think a key element was the draft, and the Terrorblade pick, they were kind of drafted into a corner by the end there, and yeah, it's a hero Envy is super comfortable on, but it just I mean, they didn't have answers. I mean, the Lion, Sankey, and Support are both great counters to Terrorblade.
I actually think that last pick from Envy could have been anything, and they would have been outpicked. I don't think that was a solution to what was happening earlier on in the draft. I agree the Terrorblade was not the right choice, but I think even a better choice would not have been good enough. We were talking about potential melee carries because they had Empower, like that's what they picked the Magnus for the setup into farming. PA was the main one we mentioned, would have also had a horribly difficult game. And I think more than anything, what really happened in this game was that IG identified that Cloud9 could not run an aggressive lane. They had, their supports were AA and Phoenix, and who was their off-lane hero this game? Batrider. That makes for, I mean, they could have tried for that actually, an aggressive trial like that, but it's pretty unlikely. So that means all in all, you can fully jungle your Sanking from level
And you can be super greedy with your overall draft. All 5 heroes for IG needed a lot of experience and a lot of gold, but they got it. They were not pressured at all.
Sanking got the blink very, very early. I remember checking at level 7, or at minute 7, he was level 6, already more than halfway to his blink. I think he had it sub 10 actually even. The rotations from the supports, Cloud9 were constantly on the back foot. They couldn't really initiate. The support duo Phoenix AA I feel like is really underwhelming. No real initiation power, no catch. When they've played the Phoenix as support, they've generally had the secondary support be a catch or be Chen, so you can like push towers, right? So you either get something like Disruptor, a Lion for Misery has been a great tool for them, but that one was already picked by the opponent. It just seemed like IG figured out how to deal with this game. And I don't know. To me, that was going to be almost an impossible win for Cloud9 to win from.
The Morphling also seemed like a great pick. Something we haven't seen as an offlaner yet this tournament, but especially when you've got a 4-position support getting a lot of farm, because the offlane Morphling always feels like it's more of a support than an actual core, but Sanking took lots of farm. Luo, as an initiator, got a lot done that game. He got a ton of XP out of the laning stage as well.
Yeah, he had a really big impact, and I guess you just walk into the mid game, and Cloud9, they didn't have that really dominant hero that can just take the game over for Fata. There was no Zeus, there was no Beastmaster, and I don't know, it just didn't feel like he had quite the impact that he's had throughout the tournament when he's been on one of his really strong heroes in this version.
Where do you think the draft should have been different for Cloud9? We got to the last pick and it felt like they were drafted into a corner. Where should things have been different for them?
I think
the opening 2 picks, you think that was fine?
I think AA was greedy. If they were planning to run Phoenix as a support, which they were, because they already had Batrider.
Yeah.
Like, they cornered the first 3 picks gave IG all the information in the world. Like, they knew exactly what they were dealing with. Support AA Phoenix, okay, they have 0 stuns in their supports. We can offlane a Morphling. The Batrider, he's going to go offlane against us. He has no other choice, really. And then we just put our lanes. We go greedy. We farm the jungle. I would say the AA should have been a different pick. I think maybe you instead of putting Fata on the Magnus in this game, he needs to have a hero that can fight earlier and fight better. Something like his Puck, which I would love to see him play. He's a phenomenal Puck player. In my opinion, the best Puck player in the world.
Something we mentioned in the draft. One of his most comfortable heroes after the Zeus Beastmaster.
Yeah. They actually haven't picked it for him all tournament, I think.
No, they played it once.
They did it once.
They played it once.
And he had a bit of a hard game, but he still had a massive impact in that game.
Yeah, I think he didn't do that well in the lane, but then he dominated later on.
I think that could have been an approach. Then they also have some catch. Like, then the Coil can do it. Magnus is a very unreliable initiator. It's either you're dependent on the enemy team getting out of position or forcing them into a bad position. But no one could force them into a bad position.
And Puck would bring a bit more damage to the table. It felt like when they got to those mid-game fights, you had a Magnus, you had a offlane Batrider. Like, they would go in with their initiations, but there was no follow-up damage. You have a Terrorblade as your carry who wasn't coming to fights to one things. Even if he does, he's not dishing out damage.
He could not come to fights. He gets hexed, he gets fingered, Epicenter, Burrow Strike. I mean, again, like you guys said, I think there were other issues with the draft, but especially with the TB. That's where you need the other 4 heroes to be able to fight really effectively 4v5 that game, and they just could not. Well, with that said, that concludes IG versus Cloud9. So we are going to have the grand finals. I believe there's a bit of a break here while the teams get set. We'll have the team introductions coming up. But guys, before we get to that, we've got Tanya time.
Hi everyone, finals in Bucharest are going to its end. For those who watch us on Twitch,